All right, well, you guys probably know this rhyme. Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks, and when she'd seen what she had done, she gave her father 41. Welcome to my first historical tarot video. Oh, look at that stress card on the bottom already after doing that little rhyme. All right, so our first topic for historical tarot is going to be Lizzie Borden and the mystery surrounding her and her parents' very horrible death. All right. So the nursery rhyme, or not nursery rhyme, or whatever it is, suggests that, yeah, she definitely did it. There was a little bit of evidence found back then that suggested she might have done it, such as a dress that she had burned in the stove. And that seems a little bit suspicious. Like, why would you need to do that? I could understand if she were in the house when the attacks happened, if somebody else did them, and she got stains on her dress and she didn't want to be reminded of that. But then again, if somebody had done the murders, why was she still alive? Anyways, so we're going to take a look at Miss Lizzie Borden and her axe. That was suggested by a few subscribers. I'm so sorry, I can't remember who, but you know who you are, and you are brilliant people. So, let's look first at Lizzie Borden. What kind of summed her up? Spirit. Let's put down some cards for her. I'll show you guys these as soon as I put them down. Okay. Gonna do it this way. Okay. Those are the cards that I have put down for her. And let's go over them. So this was Lizzie, summed up by the tarot, and we have the High Priestess, and that is talking about secrets and hidden information. This is telling me there was a lot more to the situation than what we know. There was a lot more to the situation than the authorities back then knew. And I feel like the only one who honestly knows exactly what happened and why would have been Lizzie. And possibly her parents. The crossing energy, here we have the Two of Cups. This is, to me, this is saying this is her parents. This is a card that refers to relationship or marriage or partnership. But definitely marriage. And in other readings of mine, when somebody's parents are playing a role in the particular reading, it's often this card that will come up. Because, you know, we've got a little couple on the card and everything. Okay. So right away, that looks a little bit suspicious and weird, doesn't it? In her past, in Lizzie's past, we had the Wheel of Fortune. We had a turn of events. Well, her parents being murdered is a pretty big turn of events. Or her, you know, if she had done it, her finally snapping and doing that to her parents was definitely a turn of events in her life and their lives. And of course, we're going to go over these, probably pull some clarifiers, take a closer look at what the hell happened there. And what could we even know about this woman? Her mental state at the time, this is like feeling very burdened. At the time, and I mean at the time of her parents' death. Or, you know, leading up to her parents' death. deaths. Her mental state. There was a lot going on in her brain. And back then, people didn't have a full understanding of mental health and mental illness. People didn't really understand why some people were not quite right, or why some people were more violent, or why some people, And it was probably not officially known what Lizzie Borden's mental health would have been like. But the tarot is telling us that she was very taxed and was very burdened by whatever was going on in her brain. At the root of the situation, we have right away here the home life. Now this Four of Wands, when it talks about like the home, the four walls that the family lives in, this sometimes can be referring to harmony and peace in the home. Oh, sorry guys, I got the hiccups. Okay. But all of these other cards now, like especially this very troubled mental state and the sudden turn of events, this is not telling me, like, that's just not reflective of a peaceful and harmonious home life with a good relationship with one's parents or family members. What about, you know what? Oop, on the bottom, there's the Lovers. That could be her parents again. What about... just take a look. You know, it's interesting actually why Lizzie's crossing energy was her parents, because the mother that Lizzie may or may not have murdered was actually a stepmother whom and it was not known if Lizzie actually liked Abby Borden, who was the stepmother. Reports had said that Lizzie was fairly convinced that Abby had only married Andrew Borden for his money, because Lizzie and her father and her sister came from a very well-to-do, affluent family. And in the 1890s, like, well, even nowadays it would be a big deal, right? But especially in the 1890s. And it seemed as though Lizzie never called Abby by her name, was just always Mrs. Borden. And it was interesting because, and I'm going to ask some questions on this in a moment, but let's see. Shortly before the murders, Lizzie had built in the barn, it was like a pigeon enclosure or something like that, and there were a lot of pigeons, but her father had gone in and with a hatchet killed all these birds because they had been attracting young kids over to the property. Oh, hey, Stevie. They had been attracting young kids over to the property, to hunt them. And I guess Andrew got tired of that or something. Anyways, and people just, life was pretty brutal back then. And that was one more point of contention for Lizzie, I think. Now, the thing I was going to ask, oh my gosh, you guys are so patient watching me fidget in my chair and get comfortable. Now, the one thing I was going to ask was, oh no, what was it? Oh yeah, okay. So, did Lizzie actually dislike her stepmother, as it has been reported that she disliked her? What was Lizzie and Abby's relationship like? Okay. Okay. And on the bottom, disappointment. And the Tower. And strength. Okay. So no. Lizzie did not like her stepmother. Basically, what these cards are telling me. It's like, you know, this is like getting some news. So news that maybe she was marrying Andrew Borden. Lizzie felt as though Abby only married Andrew for the money, for the family's money. And that was part of the reason why she did not get along with Abby. And I think to Lizzie, Abby marrying Andrew, Lizzie's father, it was like, I think Lizzie saw it as Abby was like getting this unfair win, you know, marrying for money. Lizzie thought that was unfair. And because Andrew was gifting property and stuff like that to members of Abby's family, and Lizzie did not like that. And it seemed like a bit of a defeat as well. And that ties in with this disappointing news. Lizzie was disappointed that Abby married Andrew. The Tower and Strength, it just suggests that like they really did not get along. They didn't like each other. So now, well, it seemed like the motive for the murders was there. Lizzie was the prime suspect, even right at the beginning. And, whoop, I'm losing my cards. And it's like, yeah, the motive was there. The means was there. Andrew had the hatchet in the barn where he killed all the pigeons prior to his own death. Now it was, I don't know how many days before the murder, but it was a few days. There was a short period of time before the murders where the family was very, very sick. And it was blamed on some mutton that had been, you know, left out or something like that. Essentially, in like nowadays terms, it would have been food poisoning. But Abby and Andrew were also, Andrew was not the most popular man in the community either. So there was a chance that maybe Lizzie had tried poisoning them. Okay, so what fell out of the deck is celebrations upside down. And then we had like overflowing emotions or something. Pardon me. So it's like hard times. Overflowing emotions. Well, worry, and you feel like crap when you're sick. And some of this overflowing, this might be kind of gross, but you know, with food poisoning, you're throwing up a lot. You're going at both ends. For some reason, that's just what kind of pinged in my head. And on the bottom, when I shuffled talking about the poisonings or the food or whatever, and those cards fell out, here is waiting for the results. So what I want to ask is, did Lizzie try to poison her mom and dad? Or her dad and stepmom, I guess. What did Lizzie try to poison them? And that didn't work. Now, Lizzie also lived with her sister Emma, and I think Emma was also sick during this time as well. So I can imagine if Lizzie tried to kill, I don't know if Lizzie was sick during this or not, or if she just wasn't around or what. But, okay, pardon that interruption. My camera like ran out of space and tried to chop this into two parts. So, all right. Did Lizzie try to poison her parents? And now to make it look like it was just an accident, obviously everybody else in the family would have had to have gotten very sick as well. And it's almost, okay, you know what? I'm actually just gonna, I'm just gonna pull. Did she try to poison her family? Well, here we have like the well-to-do family. We have loss and and conflict. This is suggesting that, you know, if she did, this was like her motive. So she definitely had the motive for poisoning her family as well. And it's one of those, like, she probably didn't want to kill her sister, and she didn't kill her sister, but you know, if Emma had been poisoned as well, it would have to be like, Lizzie would have had to make it look like an accidental poisoning, like died of food poisoning. And it's like, well, everybody in the family ate this mutton or whatever it was that had been left out on the stove, and so they all got sick and died, and whatever, right? She wanted it to look like an accident if that's how it happened, and she very well could have had to do with that, because the cards are telling me she had the motive for doing that. Now, okay, so the murders themselves. Now, after Abby would have been dead at this point, but the family had a maid, and she tried to get into the house, but she couldn't. The door was jammed, or it was blocked by something. She couldn't get in with her key or whatever. She couldn't get in. And apparently she had uttered an expletive, so she couldn't get the door. She's like, oh shit, can't get this. And she heard Lizzie giggling or laughing from the top of the stairs. Lizzie claimed that she was not home during the time of the murders. But anyone could have seen Abby's body just from walking into the house and seeing her just laying there. So Lizzie was home, according to this maid, at the time of the murders. Did Lizzie do it? She was the prime suspect even back then and was somehow acquitted. Did she do it? Or what can we know about what happened? I will show you guys. I will show you. Oh my God. So it's like she acted alone. It was planned out, like premeditated. And here we have money. And you realize she hated her stepmother because she thought that she was only after Andrew's money. Lizzie got also very upset that her father was gifting properties and stuff like that to Abby's family. And on the bottom, we have heartbreak. So I think that she did. Now, what about, okay, that dress. She burned a dress in the stove. What was that all about? Because like I said in the beginning of the video, if somebody else had carried out the murders and Lizzie got blood on her dress, well, if somebody else carried out the murders, you'd think they'd have murdered Lizzie and Emma too. Yet, Lizzie was still alive. Lizzie didn't die until she was 66 years old. And the murders happened when she was young adult. So what about that dress that she burned in the stove? That just seems like hiding evidence. If that was the dress she wore when she killed her parents, I could see her wanting to burn the evidence. What was that all about? She did it. She did it. She did it. As her father with the money. Okay, father. There's like a delay or a challenge or feeling strung up or like screwed either way. There's her stepmother. And there's the murders. So I think Lizzie did it. Ugh. That is just a horrible and sad situation all around. Now, Lizzie, after being acquitted, actually stayed in her hometown, even though she faced severe ostracism from the community. because, you know, murderer and stuff. Let's just take a look at how the rest of Lizzie's life played out after that. Just because we can. I definitely think she did it. And that's really, those cards are just, that's just what they're telling me. So what about the rest of Lizzie's life up until she died at 66? Here's the past, I think when she was young. I don't believe that she ever married, and I don't think she married and had kids. I didn't research that far into her before I started reading. But this is also talking about the past. So the past with her family. Whoops. Reaping what one sows. Loss, isolation, regret. What is the word? Anyways. She was ostracized by her community. Oh, you know what? Yes, I get it. This is telling me she was ostracized by her community for what happened in the past to her family. It's sort of, she was, to them, it's like, well, she deserves to be ostracized because she did this horrible thing. What about her death? Like, I know how Lizzie Borden died. I do, but I want to see what the tarot has to say first. Lizzie's death. This is suggesting it happened pretty quickly. Ooh. Now, history says she died of pneumonia, but I'm getting like, oh, okay, you know what? Yeah. She was haunted up until her death. Sort of what I'm getting, because this card on the bottom of the deck is like her parents. Again, she died of pneumonia, but up until she died, she was haunted. I wonder if she maybe, and we do know early on in the reading, we found out that she had a very troubled mental state, right? So I wonder if she then kind of spiraled into some very, very serious mental health issues as a result of what she had done. And I wonder if she did feel haunted by her father and stepmother after the killings. And that is Lizzie Borden and her axe. And the 81 whacks delivered.